you can tell by the title, I'm the obsessed movie man, O.M.M. Back in the 90s, there was something I was obsessed with as much as I was with movies. That was Peter Pan. I loved the Disney version, I loved the musical, and by the time the 2000s came around, I loved the 2003 film, which I reviewed a few years ago. Link to that review is in the description below. But at some point in the 90s, my dad introduced me to another film adaptation of the story, one that was directed by Steven Spielberg. For the longest time, I've had mixed thoughts on the film, but I watched it again recently, and while it is flawed, I think Hook is actually very entertaining and well made. As we do with all reviews, here's the story. Peter Banning is a lawyer who never has time for his family. I know, just roll with it. He goes to London with his family to visit the woman who gave him a home and raised him, Wendy Darling. While going to a banquet to celebrate her, Peter's children are kidnapped by a man claiming to be Captain Hook, inciting Wendy to reveal to Peter that the stories of Peter Pan are true, and that he really is the character from J.M. Barrie's books. That same night, Tinker Bell takes Peter back to Neverland, where he meets with a skeptical Hook, who does not believe that this man is his arch foe. Tinker Bell makes an offer with Hook to train him into becoming Pan again, while Hook concocts a nefarious plan to turn Peter's children against him. There are sword fights, mermaids, pirates, not so good child actors, and loads of whimsy, all what Peter Pan is about. First thing I'll say about this film, I love the idea. Though I don't know how much I should trust this story, given that Michael Myers wrote some of it. Yeah, seriously, he did. But with all seriousness, it's a fascinating concept. What would Peter Pan be like if he grew up? Would he be married, have a job, be a father? It's very interesting to see, even though it is the cliché workaholic father storyline, which I'm sick of. But what saves that trope for me, for the most part, is Robin Williams' performance as the adult Peter Banning. You can tell that he wants to be a good father and be there for his kids. It's just that he's putting his job way too far first. Now granted, there are also times when I'm on his side, such as when his son Jack is throwing a baseball in the plane. That's an asshole-ish thing to do, kid. You're a disgrace to the baseball profession. You put Mark McGuire to shame. But generally speaking, I understand what Peter is going through. Now, as much as I love Robin Williams' performance as the grown-up Peter Banning and the trials he goes through, I'm not really a fan of his version of Peter Pan, which was what I meant in my review for the 2003 film when I said the psychology wasn't done well, though I could have elaborated on that way better. I find that there is so much suspense in the film, which is something Spielberg does so well at creating, that it only pays off for Hook. There's so much mysticism surrounding who Peter Pan was. He looks interesting in the flashbacks and in the picture Wendy shows Banning, but as soon as Robin Williams has to play the actual Peter Pan, I just see Robin Williams again. He's just a little too childish, which I know is weird for me to say about Peter Pan, but I've always seen Peter as something of a child warrior with a bit of a lighthearted side, not another Robin Williams performance. Now, if you're still with me at this point, and hopefully not wanting to kill me because I didn't like parts of Robin Williams' performance in this movie, let me tell you how much I love Dustin Hoffman's Captain Hook! Like Peter Pan, there is so much build-up for Hook. From the decorations in the nursery room to the destruction of Wendy's house, Hook's presence is felt early on, and when he does show up, it's him. Dustin Hoffman pretty much is Captain Hook. Now, I've thought about it for a while now, as Jason Isaacs is great as well, but I think it comes down to which kind of Hook you're after. Do you prefer goofy and sinister, or do you prefer someone who is more sinister than goofy? And though I love Isaacs' portrayal, I might have to go with Hoffman. He has a great pirate laugh, a bloated ego, great sophistication, and he has his borderline depression, which a lot of Hooks don't show all too much. Hoffman's Hook is just so much fun to watch that he seals the whole show. I mean, of course he does. The film's named after him, after all. The rest of the cast is great as well, with Maggie Smith providing a wonderful performance as Wendy Darling, while also wearing some very convincing old age makeup, Bob Hoskins as Smee, and Prince Zuko, Dante Bosco as everyone's favorite Lost Boy, Rufio. When it comes to Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell, it's really hit or miss with me. It's by no means a bad performance, and after that breakup she was going through, I'm very impressed she still stayed on to do the film. I'm also impressed that the cast and crew were able to survive her wrath, but that's beside the point. She's playful and feisty, that's for sure. but I don't see Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell is... well, how should I put this nicely? A bitch. Tinkerbell is a bitch. She's jealous, tempered, and immature, and that's something lacking here. Though they do put in her weird "I'm in love with Peter Pan" thing, which has always baffled me as a kid. Again, it's not a bad performance at all, it's just not Tinkerbell to me. And then we have the child actors that everyone loves to talk about. I'll say this. It's difficult for a lot of children to act, especially at an early age, so I completely understand, and if they're still acting, I'm sure they have gotten much better. With that said, yeah, the kids can be a bit annoying at times. A lot of them don't really seem to know what they're saying or what to do. The only ones who seem to get out unharmed are Charlie Korsmo as Jack, Dante Bosco as Rufio, and Roshan Hammett as Thudbutt. Rufio is by far the coolest and most interesting of the bunch, though. Seriously, everyone loved Rufio! There's a lot of clever imagery in Hook that I like. Some of it's easy to spot, like Peter Banning looking into the pond and seeing his reflection as a young Peter Pan. And then there are subtle moments, like Peter Banning talking on the phone, and in the background his shadow begins to grow larger. The look of Neverland from the sky is beautiful, looking almost like a map. And then there are the sets. On the one hand, yes, they look really creative, and on the other hand, yes, they look too much like sets. But what I've always thought is that everything looks so claustrophobic. I don't know how people could walk there. It all looks so cramped and squished together. When I think of Neverland, I think of vast space and different looks, but really there are only two locations, the Pirate Town and the Lost Boy Village. I'm not gonna lie, I find it a bit boring. Also worth noting is John Williams' score, because John Williams is the man. This is probably one of my favorite scores of his. I love the whimsy, I love the sinister tones, and I love the adventure to it. My favorite portion of the music comes when all the Lost Boys reject Peter Banning as being Peter Pan, aside from one boy who, once he sees Banning smile, simply says, "Oh, there you are, Peter." It legitimately brings tears to my eyes every time. Damn you, John Williams! Damn you for doing a fantastic job! There's one thing about this film I want to bring up that has always confused the hell out of me. It does contain some spoilers though, so skip to this mark to avoid them. Near the end of Hook's fight with Peter, Hook accidentally stabs the stuffed and dead crocodile. Smoke comes out and the crocodile starts to growl and look at Hook. It falls on him with its mouth wide open. When the dust settles, it isn't moving anymore, and the only sound heard is a burp, and Hook is gone. So, what was that? Was the crocodile really dead? Was it dead only to come back alive to eat Hook, then die again? Was it a ghost crocodile? This has confused me for most of my life, and if I ever meet Spielberg, the first question I would ask him is what happened with Hook and the crocodile? Whew! Now that that rant is over, how does Hook hold up? Honestly, I think it holds up very well. Okay, there's tons of cheesy moments, but you know what? A lot of the other interpretations are cheesy. There's a lot of imagination and hard work put into it. I can tell that the people involved tried really hard to make something very fun, and for the most part, they succeeded. It's a well thought out story, most of the characters are fun, the musical score is simply beautiful, and it really does capture a lot of the magic of Peter Pan. So when you get a chance, check out Hook. It'll leave you shouting, "Bangarang!" Thanks, this is an O.M.M review. This is O.M.M, signing out. Yeah, I've been meaning to get this looked at.